This is to supplement what I talked about my time from the birth to high school days. I was talking about the dark side, not just the superficial event of what happened, but what's the internal situation that I went through. So when I look at myself backward to those 16, 17, 18 years of my early life, one word that I pick up is the curiosity. I had lots of curiosity and trying to imagine various ideas, have a dream, and I was looking for what that might be. The situation, however, was that my father was busy at work. My mother had two other kids. I was the eldest, so she was busy housekeeping stuff. One thing I connected to her was the love of nature, because she was more introvert and enjoyed the paintings and the nature, mainly nature-related paintings. So I painted quite a few pictures with interesting imagination of the future land, for example. So those are the memories, the important books that influenced me from my early age up to 16 or 17. One is Thomas Alva Edison. This is something I mentioned. I was 7 or 8 years old. I got the idea of 99% perspiration, 1% inspiration. I felt like I could be an inventor if you work hard. So that gave me a sense toward science and engineering field to be one of the most interesting, something I want to pursue. Second book I can think of is called The 2 Years Vacation. I think this is 14 kids stranded in an island, the British book, I believe. And I pictured myself in one of those 14 kids trying to make a living, how to find a way to live when you have nowhere to go but in the island. Lots of imagination, and I love that story. The third book I can say is Pansée, I mentioned. This is Blaise Pascal, more philosophical book. But along with it, I think I had interest in the German literature like Goethe and Hesse. And there's a discussion about love, which I have no idea. But being curious, I was imagining what that could be. So those are the factors that influence me in terms of me to figure out which way to go, how to live my life. But left alone, the books are the important sources of the information. And the next is my friends, I believe. We are all fun-loving kids, especially when I went into the high school that is connected to college. So we didn't have to study like any other kids. So we had a purely beautiful time. This is men's only high school, so that makes it more interesting perhaps in some way or the other. So exchanging ideas with them just for having fun, that's one group. The other one is a more philosophical group. I believe by exchanging ideas with my friends gave me lots of ideas, or maybe a lack of idea, depending upon who I meet. And if they're more interesting or exploratory, I may be more drawn into them. But if they are not, and maybe too only for study or anything of that nature, I was not that interested. I mentioned about the dark side. So what I can say about the dark side, which may mean something hidden in terms of my personality, which I'm trying to figure out at the early age, is that I was just exploring things, every which direction I can think of. I may have done something bad things and something good things, but making mistakes would give me opportunity to learn, and unless I try, I don't know my limit, so I needed to try. As much as I mentioned that I read tons of books, that's part of the approach I did. Any book I can think of, not too much into the depth, but rather to find what category of books I may be interested and dive into it. So there's not much I can say about who I was or how I was behaving, except to think I was very exploratory, curious, and had lots of energy to try out so many things, which I think was a good thing. I'm ready to go to the next phase into the college. One thing I can summarize is that if I reflect back from older age and the spiritual element that I've got into, I could see me trying to find out the root of who I am and the direction of which way to go. And for that, I had the energy, I had the interest, curiosity, and trying to find what may fit very well for my personality. So from that point of view, I was given a good opportunity to try out. There may have been an influence of the situation in Japan in terms of the focus on economic development, the skills, study, and many are in that direction. But in my case, because of the high school being shielded from the entrance exam to the college, we had much, much better freewheeling spirit of exploring, not just the students, but the teachers, and they are very accommodating as to, like you may call it, free reign. We could do lots of things, like skipping the class, and the many mischievous things we did, and we could get by. It's hard to believe that we did something like that. My understanding of this school is very difficult to get in because of its attached relationship with the college, but we didn't care much about it. Just we took advantage of the situation to make the most of it. So there are lots of characters of people in student friendship, lots of characters that I could find. And actually, if I think back, there are many who are very dedicated to study, but that was not so much of my interest or our interest, those groups that I was connected with. One thing I can just add is that after the graduation into the college and the work, and we have this class reunion because we spent 3 years together, this 50 or so classmate. I'm the one exceptional one to be out of Japan and living more freewheeling kind of a life, and many of them are in Japan going through the typical Japanese way of living. So I guess I was somewhat different, or I was intuitively feeling what is the thing that can differentiate me to be interested in what I do, to live my life. Thank you.